We are back with you now on Wave Listens Live. Such an important message to get across now. We are back in the seats here. I've got Jim Desmond here, attorney from Desmond Law Office. It's great to have you here on the show. And
thank you.
People need the information that we're going to talk about here today. So
I hope so. Let's give them some information rather than just try to do another commercial, so to speak.
Exactly, which is good. And I think that touches on exactly how you're able to help. The first thing that we want to talk about, because you handle car wrecks exclusively, and the kind of rough thing about that is they happen, and a lot of times it's not going to be your fault.
Right, and that's the thing is, but I always tell people, look, I advertise on TV too. I pick on the TV advertisers because they all say about if you're injured, if it's not your fault. I say, look, if you've been in an accident, you deserve counsel, okay? Call me. I don't mind taking a 10-minute conversation. We can kind of go through it. Because to me, there's a huge amount of bad information out there, whether it's from your friend or an insurance company or no offense to other lawyer that doesn't do just car wrecks. I see a lot of bad information, and I'd rather get it corrected right off the bat. Simple phone call. And I think in today's world where there is just so much information, period, there's bound to be misinformation in there. And that's why I think being able to get in touch with somebody like you to cut through all that, tell you what your options are, that's more important now than maybe it's ever been before. Right. And and that's the thing, as a consumer, I feel sorry for people who are in car wrecks because you've got to ask questions. And all of a sudden they're thrown into something they didn't expect. Involves tort law, contract law, insurance law. And now all of a sudden they're saying, they're hearing things, but it's not always true. I had a case this week where the insurance company kept telling my client, you don't have this medical expense coverage. And I'm like, they're wrong. And I had to go two phone calls, then going through a supervisor. And yeah, of course, I proved them that I was correct. But a typical person would have just dropped that.
Right.
And said, oh, well, they must be right. It's like, no, you can't do that. Or, there's another one. I'll pick on the big firms. I love doing that. Anybody knows me knows that. I do. I love it.
Go for it.
Client came to me instead of a big firm they had talked to initially, and they said, "Oh, you can. We want you to treat with this one chiropractor." And I have nothing against chiropractors. I use them. I like them. But the way no fault or even the health insurance when we use it for the car accident works, you can go where you want to go. Mm-hmm. You go to the doctor that makes you feel better. You don't have to have an attorney or an insurance company telling you, oh, I've got to go here or I've got to go there. My job as an attorney is to get your medical bills paid and make sure I can get your treatment taken care of. But it's not my job to force you to go to any particular doctor. My job is to advise you.
I can imagine too for clients that you have, if they've been through, especially depending on the severity, you've gone through this horrible ordeal. You're trying to get through the aspects of it that, again, as an attorney who not a person who's an attorney, you don't know what you're being told. And so if somebody's telling you have to go to this doctor, that's now a whole nother uncomfortable piece of the puzzle that you're trying to navigate that you shouldn't have to.
Right. And that's why I tell people use my cell phone. I see all these other ads. I was waiting in your green room. I was seeing these ads and I was comparing them like, well, that's a good slogan and that's a good slogan, but it doesn't do any good if you're not talking to your client.
Right.
And I hate to be like that. The biggest complaint against attorneys is not legal malpractice, it's lack of communication. And people, one big firm is now supposedly having their attorneys give their clients their cell phone. I'm like, thank God. I've done this for 20 years with my cell phone on the net. I want to talk to my clients directly. I want to get the information from them. Because again, not only does it keep me going, but it also tells me, is there something I need to address, attention-wise?
Yeah.
It's much less. Well, really, if you really want to, let's get rid of all the TV advertising for a second. Okay, there's no offense to TV advertisers, but, well, maybe some offense. Sorry.
I love it. No, keep it going.
I don't have long enough to go through all of it. But, it's really about, everybody wants to make it sound like, oh, it's one call or it's past results or all this. It's really about being in contact with your attorney, forming a game plan where you get your treatment taken care of and your bills paid, and we maximize what we can do against the other person because that's all we can do. That's all the law allows is to recover money on behalf of an injured person. So it's really about maximizing that, but in the same respect, they all fail to notice it's minimizing what comes out of a client's settlement. Because again, if I recover $100,000 for a client and between attorney fees and medical bills, we pay out $98,000, he's like, what the heck did you do?
Sure.
It's not worth it.
I think what I don't want to get lost in all of that, too, is what you said, that for decades now, you have given out your cell phone number, which if we have anybody out there who has gone through maybe different firms or different ways when they've been in a wreck, you might have somebody from a call center. You might have somebody who is just an assistant who's answering phones. You may have people, it may take you multiple steps when you're already dealing with a lot already. You have no car, maybe you're dealing with all these medical bills piling up, and you can't even get in touch with the person who's supposed supposed to be representing you.
Sorry to do that to you. You're adding fuel to the fire because I'm like, because remember, I pick on big firms because I used to be part of one until 2005.
So you know both sides of
this. It's a factory. Yeah, it's a factory-like mentality. But when you said that, I was like, yeah, I mean, that's like this whole idea of a case manager or paralegal. I mean, with all due respect, it's like, how do you, you should be talking to your attorney, not a case manager. I mean, if I hire somebody and I give them 6 months of training, I can call them a case manager. Okay, you should be talking to your attorney himself, him or herself, because that way you get the right legal advice. And that's why, I mean, there are many times I find people who have let a big firm go, they'll call me and I'll try to figure out where the case is at, and I can't figure it out from what they don't know, and that tells me that attorney didn't tell them what they were supposed to tell them. So yeah, I'm big into communication because we cannot solve all the problems, but you can't even get started solving them unless you're dealing with your client directly and getting the information. You got to get what they need. I have a client right now, and as I'm saying that I don't think I'm going to be able to get him settled without a lawsuit, but I know he's kind of needing it to be pushed forward, so I'm doing what I can to push it forward. And that's what you got to do, is at least have an attorney that goes, takes the effort and swings the bat.
You're that person. You put that game plan into place for people. We got about 30 seconds here to the end of the show, so I want to make sure that we've talked about your cell phone multiple times. Let everybody know the best ways to get in contact with you, and then any final message that you want to get across to our viewers here today.
Nights or weekends, use the cell phone. I advertise on Facebook and everything else, but the cell phone is answered, and if they have a question period about a car wreck, pick it up with the phone and ask. It doesn't cost anything. I don't mind at all. Okay, we've got that right there on the screen. That's your website as well. Jim Desmond, I want to thank you not only for being here today, but for helping people out with this misinformation and being there for people when they need it most. I always appreciate that invite, Brian. Thank you.